Here we have a 8 by 10 canvas. It's a painting of apple pie on a plate with this very subtle fork reclining in the background. Painted this about 2 weeks ago during a visit to my father's house, who is also a painter, and we both painted apple pie, the same slice of pie, side by side. And like other paintings I've created, you have this wonderful interaction of warm and cool light, and I think with this one it's even a little bit more prevalent. You can see the the vibration of the cool blue grays with the warm golden tonalities. And I was really interested. I was fascinated with these large chunks of apples that were sort of protruding out of the side of the pie. And as time marched on, sort of interesting. We had to take a piece of crumbled up napkin and actually prop it behind the pie to keep it from falling, because as the time progressed, the pie started getting heavier, I guess, and we didn't want it to break apart. So you're looking at this 8 by 10 inch traditional naturalist oil painting of a slice of apple pie, and as in many of the other pieces, you see this really spontaneous approach to applying the paint. There's a lot of turns, twists, scrapes, spins, all sorts of really spontaneous gestural marks that I use to actually realize the form. This particular approach to painting is very unself-conscious. It's really reacting to the motif that I see before me, and observing the interaction of light, interplay of light, the interaction of temperature, color, and then really paying attention to the various textures, like the sheen of the plate in contrast to the scrumptious textural aspects of the pie, as you see in here. So this was a real exciting piece to paint. As an artist, it's a lot of fun to paint with fellow artists, especially my father. We've painted together for many years during family trips, excursions to Monhegan Island, painting together on the high cliffs, looking at motifs like ocean motifs, rock trees, and things like that. And over the years, we've painted many still lifes together, and it's really neat to have that sort of dialogue, where one artist plays off the ideas of the other. You discuss compositional ideas, use of color, whatnot, and it becomes more of a social activity. That sort of collaboration makes painting quite exciting, because painting at times can be quite lonely when you think about it. You're in your studio alone. It's for many people it's a very reclusive activity, and you're sort of you're separated. You're there in your own little world. So I guess on some levels it's no different than people who would play a musical instrument. A little bit more about this painting specifically. Like many of my works, you see this real atmospheric quality where the edges appear and dissolve within the atmospheric space, mirroring the way we actually see as humans. As I've mentioned before, it's almost physically impossible to focus in on every edge at the same time. So when I paint, I actually paint in such a way that mirrors exactly the way I'm seeing and perceiving the ambiance before me. And I only paint from life, never from photographs. Actually, painting from photographs is very uninspiring to me, because there's really not enough information there to distill. So looking at this apple pie from life was quite a remarkable experience, because you can see every finite detail. It's a lot of fun to paint this front rim and the way it rolled around, and looking for ways to suggest this highlight and the multitude of tones and lights and the way they interact in the shadows and the various textures of the pie. And then this real mysterious forked fork that reclines in the background and the way it goes in and out of the atmosphere, and then that little indication of a highlight. Alright, where did apple pies actually come from? Well, I did a little bit of research on this and discovered that it was in 1381 that pies actually came about, and I guess they were very different from the pies that we see today because they didn't contain sugar, and they were actually placed into like pastry coffins that were generally not meant to be eaten. So the actual apple went into like this container that one would actually eat from. And I guess back then sugar was very, very scarce and not really available. It was very expensive too. Yeah, then it was interesting to note that during the 16th century, around the 1550s, 1545, that sugar actually became more available, and so pie became more popular. It's interesting to look at how foods progress through history. An interesting anecdote from an American standpoint, it was during World War II that oftentimes when journalists met some of these soldiers coming back from war, they would ask them, "Why did you go to war?" And many of these soldiers would say, "For Mom and apple pie." So that was a popular expression during that point in history. Interesting bit of information, huh? So it's interesting to realize that apple pie has been interwoven to so many aspects of society, and it has a long history behind. So it was during the 1970s that many American advertisers picked up on this World War II patriotic connection, the association that they used, and they started promoting the idea using the jingle, "Baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie and Chevrolet." Probably many of you remember that jingle being used. And then the Apple Marketing Board of New York State got on the bandwagon and used this slogan, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." Advertising once again, using apples and apple pies in different contexts. Then there was another popular slogan, many of you probably remember this one, "As American as apple pie," making that association. Then I guess this board of New York State, this marketing board, was able to change people's perception of apples and the whole apple industry, and actually improve people's health, I guess, and successfully rehabilitate the apple as a popular consumable item. Marketing Board of New York State that started using this slogan, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away," and then there was this one, "As American as apple pie," and this organization was able to successfully, change society's perceptions of many things, including rehabilitate the apple as a popular